And before we get into any of the fun for the afternoon, we will be opening the session with the poem of the week from the Urban Festival. So I'll just ask Kumo, our DJ, to do that first. Kumo, are you ready for us?
Coding for Goku began when she sculpted grand dreams onto pottery, crocheted algorithmic patterns onto garments that we grew into. This was the original digital technology, a reflection of our artistic expression. In a world as big as one's imagination, made smaller by tech, we're brought together by clouds and streams. For even networks know the strength of connectivity, as we do the power of human connection. Africans, our imagination ruled the world. By it, worlds advanced. New methods demand new forms, so we morphed. From mud huts to skyscrapers, from Morse code to binary code, where coding for girls is not sacrilegious, but said with the same simplicity as a makeup tutorial. Yes, a tomorrow where girls are lining coding like lining makeup, hacking bro codes, breaking barriers. Background has never birthed intelligence and talent, nor be they the DNA of privilege. If you can dream it, you can code it. Debug and refactor with every binary, not restricted by a mouse, keyboard, or data. Be it in a leafy suburb, downtown CBD, or the township. Creativity your currency, your mind a mine. With evolution, the tune never changes. We just dance to it differently. Memory is stored in feeling. This flow is neat. There is no mathematics to the sound. But we have always known this. Rhythm is more in action than in thought, and it's playing out than it's scripting. Some have called it mysticism. I call it the resurrection of our ancestors who art in heaven through our images of unborn things, our words, sensations, song and dance, an embrace of Urban Festival 2020, an embodiment of the ideal.
Beautiful. And so that's our poem of the week from Emmah Mabye, who's a local poet and has been gracing us with her poetry all month. And so we give thanks for that. So welcome all of you. For those of you who caught our entrance song on replay, that was Shomajozi singing Huku. And if your Kiswahili is not very good, Huku means you didn't. Well, it's part of the word that says you didn't. But you did, you're here, welcome. Welcome to all of you, and thanks for making the time. As you would know, this is the third in our series on smarter cities that we've been holding throughout the Urban Festival. We are holding these events courtesy of kind sponsorship from the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation and from Luminate, who support the work of the CTIN. And this, of course, is part of the Urban Festival that we're doing in partnership with South African Cities Network, the Department of Cooperative Governance and the Urban Policy Framework, Future Cities South Africa, among others. So please have a look at the website if you hadn't. It's been a month packed full of really exciting things. I only have 2 jobs to do here, well, maybe 3. One was to make you feel welcome. I hope you feel welcome. The second is to quickly go over some house rules. And I think all of us are living on Zoom now, so I don't think there's any need to really go into any kind of detail, but basically keep mute. Please actively use the chat. We really welcome you to engage, ask questions, comment. We definitely want to do that. The session is being live streamed to Facebook and is being recorded for future circulation. So if you want to make funny faces, just be aware that it's out there. So be careful with that. Okay, and so the last bit of my job is to introduce our speakers for today, and we're really excited to have them. We've got Julien Carbonnell. Welcome, Julien. I know you are rushing here from somewhere.
Hi.
And hey. So Julien, and you'll get a bio pasted up in the chat just now so that we don't have to read everything. But We encountered him recently, actually, through his writings on Medium, and we'll share that link. So has been doing interesting work, I think initially linked to his PhD, which he says is not his priority right now, which was on stakeholder engagement in smart cities. But what he's actively working on right now, and maybe he will tell us a little bit about it, is a startup project called Democracy Studio. And we really look forward to hearing. I think what excited us about Julien is just that he's been doing a lot of case-based work looking at these issues across a number of countries. And so that's quite exciting. And I think we are very happy to have you with us today. Thank you, Julien. And I believe you'll be introducing one of your co-speakers when the time comes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let me just introduce then the second speaker so that once we start, we don't have to pause again. We welcome with us, referred to us actually through South African Cities Network and their relationship with the French Development Agency, Simina Lazare, who has been working for quite a number of years in Africa and in Europe on all sorts of urban policy issues. Today, she'll be speaking to us in relation to her work with the Aston Network, which is based in Paris, but is a network of 11 African countries. Again, the link will be shared with you, and I'm sure she'll tell us what they've been doing. And I believe she'll also be introducing Charlene, who will be presenting with her. So I think without further ado, please feel welcome, our speakers. We appreciate having you, and we look forward to the next 60, 90 minutes with you. So I'm just gonna hand over now to Julien.
Hi, thank you, Jessie. Hello, everyone. I will share my screen. So, yeah, share, great. Here it is. I guess you can see it on your screen. Yeah, great. So indeed, I've been specializing myself those last years, almost 10 years now, in finding ways to co-design cities with inhabitants. I tried many different ways, most of workshops doing analog, and also try different prototypes of apps. And so it will be my pleasure to share this experience with you and see how we can get some interesting insights out of my experiments. Yeah, a few words about my background. So I am born and have been raised in Perpignan in the south of France. It's a small city at the border with Spain. I initially get a degree in psychology. So this introduced me to humanities and social science. And then I started to work as an independent business in real estate development in 2009. Mainly by opportunities in my hometown. And I was looking always for ways to integrate the neighbors in designing the city, or I wanted to find a way for them to personalize the future real estate product they will be able to have it. So that's this is how it started. And the result has been a long pathway that is not done at all. I keep improving the method and the ways and learning a lot by engaging people, giving them tools to self-organize mutual benefits in the neighborhoods. So along that way, I've been developing or participate to many initiatives for citizen engagement from different perspectives, in non-profit association, also in many startup projects, in a think tank on the forecasting the future city. And I've been collaborating a bit with the public sector, but it's not what I've done the most. The last ongoing prototype is called Democracy Studio. Thank you, Jessie, for mentioning it. So yeah, Democracy Studio have been developed during the lockdown because many hackathons happened online at that time. So it was easy to, every weekend, to accelerate my project. And so, yeah, Democracy Studio aims to be an all-in-one platform, secure on blockchain, to share crypto token to the members of a local community on the same fashion as an universal basic income, and those tokens will be spent inside the locality for voting, influencing the decisions to take among the locality, and also trading goods and services out of the regular money system. I am now in the last part of my PhD research for a doctorate degree in urban science. I started it in 2008, and I will I will present my thesis in September 2021. The topic is stakeholder engagement in smart city, and my approach of this topic is to use comparative cultural studies in Asia, Middle East, and Eastern Baltic. I assume that if I can find patterns in the way how localities adapt the global smart city movements in those three places, so I can probably generalize to the rest of humanity, or let's say to other cultures around the world. And so I've been investigating last year Taipei, the capital city of Taiwan, Tel Aviv in Israel, a famous startup city, and Tallinn in Estonia, which is known for being the main digital governments worldwide. By duplicating the same protocol of research, I am using social network analytics, internet-based research. I'm doing surveys to inhabitants to know how they feel engaged or not in decision making, and to know if they feel, how they shape their opinions, and to have their feedback on collaborating in decision making for the city. I'm also organizing collaborative workshops. Well, I was doing it before the corona, so now this way of collecting information is a bit sleeping. And finally, I'm also interviewing key stakeholders in different categories, sectors. The public, private, civil, and academic sectors have been interviewed in those three cities to give their feedback on that topic. So the main cross-cultural insights that I can share with you for the moment are some contextual factors. It appears that in all those three successful digital transformation of cities into smart city and democracy in a democracy 2.0 fashion, so the main contextual factors that we can find in those three cases are that the state's agenda reveals a need for foundation or transformation. So in Tallinn, it appeared at the beginning of the 90s, at the fall of the Soviet Union. So the states were starting from scratch to develop. In Tel Aviv, same. Well, Tel Aviv is called, Israel is called startup nation for the same reason. They have been creating themselves from scratch 60 years ago. And in Taipei, it's kind of the same, but they were living in under a nationalistic regime up to the end of the 80s, and then they switched to democracy at the end of the 80s. So the state calls for transformation, and it starts to use the most advanced digital tools available. Then a multi-stakeholder national branding or marketing is created in support, and all stakeholders communicate this brand to show what kind of developments they are doing. And then I can also identify that the geopolitical context is shaping the priorities and tendency of each ecosystem. So the first developments that are being done by the states are usually depending on what happens at the global level and how they want, what strategies they want to deploy to make themselves like famous or in that transformation. And it results that managing the dynamic of digital transformation means organizing many public events to engage citizens, having a strong civil society in backup or at the lead, writing inclusive policies and practices of open governance, and deploying some smart city devices to improve or extend citizenship experiences. So as you can see it, I put some pictures of places where I've been, and so yeah, multiplying all public events, both online and offline, means organizing meetups. So basically, all categories of stakeholder can participate in making each city more dynamic on the digital transformation side by organizing regular meetups and inviting public to join. Also conferences, forums, exhibitions, and hackathons. Hackathons are a way, we will see it later, hackathons are a way to invite potential coders or entrepreneurs to build together some open source software for the common benefit of the whole city. Then it's important to understand that even if the state is not leading those initiatives, which keep led by the civil society, they are supporting those citizen initiatives, mainly by allowing street events or sidewalk actions, but also by providing some public real estate to host some meetings freely. And this is what we can see at the bottom left corner. The Social Innovation Lab in Taipei is a very good example of a public building that has been given at the disposal of civic hackers and entrepreneurs group that are trying to develop, well, they are developing open source softwares or even hardware, well, a lot of open solutions and open innovation for the benefit of the whole city. In the middle, you can see Mabye 9, which is a museum, library that has been open to entrepreneurs or many citizens who want to work for free there can use this library of the museum in Tel Aviv to do some co-working for free. And I gave, the example is a bit different, but at the bottom right, you can see the National Library of Tallinn, which was the place where I was working when I was staying there. And so the main common points in those three public places is that it's free to join. You can go every day to work there. You have free internet access, and basically this is all what you need. Okay, and this is all what citizens need to start to develop some citizen initiative with a few costs at the beginning. So here I did a table of different examples of civic engagement for digital development. We will not go through it like this, where I will show you more pictures then, so you can figure it out how it works. And so This is the first one in Taiwan, a very interesting initiative of hackathons that's happening mainly bi-monthly. And so you can see there, I was in the hackathon 13.7 in Taiwan. So you have voluntaries that join working groups for the whole weekend, and they do civic hacking job. So they develop all kind of things that can benefit to the whole citizen. So some of them are creating open data repositories, some other that are more experienced into coding, they are developing some, let's say, softwares, open source softwares. You can even join if you don't know how to code, you can help the event in many different ways. So, this has been a very interesting example that you can easily develop worldwide, and that we are seeing basically in most cities nowadays. Same here. V-Taiwan is an interesting weekly workshop which work as an politics watch. So every Wednesday night you can go in the social innovation lab in Taipei City, and then you will meet some core members. They will offer you some beer, sometimes some dinner, and so you will just talk about new projects or new policies that has been voted, and exchange about that. Also a very interesting example from the Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association, where young people are helping the web development in some, let's say, developing places. Kosovo has been in war some years ago, and so the Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association went there to help them in finding the domain for the country and developing the first public websites. They also collaborated with Eswatini, with Vietnam, for developing the health public services. And so it's a non-profit association that started to make some great work like this. In Israel, you have Asadna. Asadna is a working group that also organizes some weekly and monthly reunions, and this is for discussing about which data of the Israeli government should be open and make it accessible to all Jewish communities worldwide and the Israeli people. CityZoom was a networking example. So it's an event where you can have a conference with some experts talking about the topic of smart city and urban innovation. So all those people that join the public attend to make some professional contacts in the smart city field. Data for Good Israel has been organized as a meetup. So from, let's say, a citizen initiative, an independent citizen, he started to organize these meetups to create some more data collection and open the data access to the people from Tel Aviv. They also organized some datathons. In Estonia, there is an interesting, Estonia is benefiting from his small demography, and so they have a sort of, we call it low hierarchy by design, and also by default. So because the country is not so populated, they can easily collaborate with the upper hierarchy, and this is what has been done with the Estonian Cooperation Assembly. It's an independent experts group of people that join the national parliaments, and they have been developing with them the open data portal. So we can see there some of the members working with the parliamentaries on this critical issue of opening data of the public. then Lina Labor is an initiative that it's an association that has been developed by urban professionals. And so they tend to create a network in between Estonian urban professionals. And so they are organizing in all cities of Estonia different actions like urban gardening with some children, voluntary refurbishment, citizen engagement. So it's professional networks that work for as volunteers to make the global understanding and the global dynamic of the urban developments more improved. And the last one I wanted to talk you about is the Open Knowledge Estonia. So you may know Open Knowledge Foundation, which is step by step being deployed in all countries. And so in Estonia, they are currently building the Open Knowledge Estonia, and they organize the open data repositories to make it widely accessible to all Estonian people. So, what I would like to insist on is that all those initiatives have been allowed by inclusive policies and some practices of open governance. It means an interest for open source software and hardware. It means open code repositories available to developers, and it means respecting the standard for an easy adoption for newcomers, which is also really interesting in the 3 cities I've been visiting, is that the governments are maintaining a very close collaboration between public sectors and startups or innovation entrepreneurs, but also with voluntary civic hackers, makers. There is a close intertwining of all those categories that share the same interest. They all want to accelerate the digital transformation of their state or city. This is something that's maybe more techy. Well, it asks for some hardware, so it's a further step of investment for the states. But in those 3 cities, I have found the common points that they all use one e-device for improving smart citizenship. It means that in Taiwan, you are using the EasyCard, to at the beginning to access public transportation and pay your taxi or car parking. But then it has been extended to an access to public libraries and to pay some small shopping in stores and supermarkets. In Tel Aviv, they are also using a card that's called Digital. The strategy is not the same. It's a card that has been developed to ease the transparency and the communication between the states and the population. And so you need this digital to be considered as residents of the city. And so you will have access to main public services like nursery, school, but you will also access to many laser offers organized by the municipality. Like they will give you some refund to access to a theater, they will invite you, for example, to some yoga class or to some beach events by time to time. And in Tallinn, it's kind of the same device. So it's an eID card. It has been really advanced in its developments because they based all the public state services on this eID card, which give each citizen a secure access to public services. All public services are running online in Estonia, and so you use it to pay your taxes, to go at the hospital, to send your children to school, for everything. And something that is almost more interesting is that they managed to find a way to share these devices to citizens worldwide. So even if you don't live in Estonia, or if you are not an Estonian citizen, you can ask for them to have an access to these digital public services. And they are having partnerships with all embassies around the world. So this is more or less what I wanted to tell you today. If you have any questions, of course, we will have some time after that, but you can also send me an email. If you wish to read more about my research, please go to my Medium account. Thank you. I'm open for questions, but I think I should first introduce Willy, or yeah, do a short question answering. Kumo? Jessie, what do you think?
Sorry, I was busy trying to copy your Medium link over. So Julien, I think we can see if there are any questions for clarity.
So far,
I know the one that everybody always asks is whether they will have access to the slides. So I can ask before somebody asks it.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, what did you ask me?
Is whether they will have access to the slides. Will you be making those available?
I will share the slide. Yeah, no
okay.
problem. I will do it.
So colleagues, are there any, I mean, there's a second half of this first presentation, but are there any questions of clarity for Julien right now, or should we continue and just come onto the chat as we go along? I don't see any hands yet, so maybe just carry on, Julien. Oh, okay, there is actually Simina has her hand up. She has her physical hand up. It's good, lucky that I saw her. Okay, go for it.
Thank you, Geshe. Yeah, it's a curiosity I have with respect to Julien's presentation. By the way, it was very, very interesting, compelling, very, very rich. And I understand that you chose three cities, three places that have a very developed and mature digital ecosystem.
Yes.
Towards the end, you said that from your perspective, one of the main success factors that you observed was the fact that those cities are placed in an environment and work with a national government that has inclusive policies and practices.
Yeah.
I know that basically that's what you observed in the three cases, but I was wondering if, with respect to all the work that you've been doing besides your PhD, you observed cases where that success factor is not there, and what happens,
of course.
and if cities can still achieve their digital transition and involvement of citizens, even if those policies are not there at all, or maybe the policies are not as open as we would like them to be.
Yeah. Thank you for this question. Of course, it depends about the national law applied, and some federal states, for example, give more power to cities, while some states that are more, let's say, centralized in their governance used to take more decision from the capital city, and so the other cities have to adapt. So yeah, of course, I've been to many places where there are not so many collaboration between the governments, especially between the national and the municipal governments. This is something that is quite the case in Israel, because Tel Aviv is not always considered as, well, they are a bit the rebels of Israel, and so they are developing a bit by themselves, you know, and they are much more progressive, let's say, than Jerusalem, that is a more conservative city. So yeah, this has been exactly what Tel Aviv have faced those years, those last years, and they keep facing it. So depending on what on which competencies they have, they can more or less innovate on certain field. I'm thinking, for example, to the bus transportation in Tel Aviv. The bus transportation is a competence of the Ministry of Transportation of Israel. And so even if the bus transportation are, circulating in Tel Aviv city, the municipality of Tel Aviv cannot really do that much innovation on it. They depend on the states, and they often struggle with the state, yeah, because they don't have the same vision of politics. So yeah, this is something that happens. You always have to find the best rooms to maneuver depending what elements you have in hand, and yeah, try to keep going.
Thank you for that question and for the answer. Actually, I found the cases quite interesting as well. Taiwan is one of the countries that we as the Civic Tech Network have often looked to in terms of some of their practices. But of course, and I like that you framed your presentation in terms of what are some of the conditions or contextual factors, because obviously those can make a big difference. And I think Simina has picked up on one. Another one, of course, is the extent of access that people have or don't have to participate in those ways. But still, I think there's a lot one can learn. On your point about state support, I really appreciated the idea that it's not always the funding. Sometimes it's just making space available.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think those are useful lessons. Perhaps, Julien, let's carry on with Willie. I think people will comment as and when they're ready to.
Great. So yes, I would like to introduce you Willie, which is a friend I met some years ago on internet. He's a digital entrepreneur in Cameroon, and we met each other because we were sharing the same interest for open datas, and this is how we started to get in touch and then to start collaborating on some projects. And so he's now doing a very interesting new startup project based on open datas, and I would like him to share it to you. However, I don't know if Will is there. Oh no.
Hello, Julien.
Yes.
So I'm talking on behalf of Willie. So Willie could not make it on time. So he asked me to do the presentation for him. So I'm Derek Demervan and I work with Willie. So should I start?
Yes, Derek, go ahead. Do you need to share screen?
Yes. Yes,
okay,
I need.
Maybe Kumo can give you some access.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, please try sharing your screen. You have access.
Okay. So, are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't exactly know the relationship of really Julien, but I will just go straight to the presentation of the platform as it is. So, I'll be very quick in the presentation. So, GeoSM actually is a geospatial data infrastructure that's open source that we are building for all over Africa. And so, if I move, I'm just going to do a situation like what were the driving factors for this platform to be built, and then I'll present a brief on GeoSM and then a little demonstration. So, in a nutshell, what we realized back in Africa is that there's a lack of geospatial data. In any sector of planification, we want to plan, there's always this problem of data. You start a project and you're always blocked because there's a lack of data. So the problem is not that there's no data, but that this data is not centralized somewhere. Everybody has his data in his computer. A student will do his project, collect a lot of data, then store it on his computer, and at the end of the project, the data just dies there. NGOs, public, private sectors, everybody have data, but in a dispersed way. So we faced these challenges while trying to build some pyramid in order to empower the different sectors, that is health, transport, cadastre network, environment, and job marketing and everything. We're trying to empower these sectors with free and open source data in order to reduce cost, because maybe one NGO will collect data and maybe another ministry will want to use data on the same area. It will not be aware of the fact that the data that have already been collected. You go and spend more money to collect the same data that have already been collected. So that's a lot of resources and energy and time wasted for nothing. So we have also realized that our local governments have failed to really empower all the sectors, all the digital sectors with the necessary tools in order to make them innovate in a smart way. So this top-down initiative have always been failed. So now we're trying to do a bottom-top initiative where we want to bring the citizen at the center of the project.
Derek, sorry, every now and then you're breaking up a bit. I don't know if it's your mic that's moving.
Oh, sorry. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. It's better now.
Okay now?
Yes or no? Let's carry on. We can hear you, but it is breaking up.
Okay, thank you. So this location intelligence platform is based on 3 core concepts that we have determined, that is data, connect, and empower. Why data? If we're talking of smart cities, if we take the context of smart cities, we will see that there's an infrastructure layer, then there's a service layer, but between this infrastructure and the service layer, there's a data layer. And this data layer on which that is used to build smart services that make all these ecosystems smart. So actually, we cannot really talk of a smart city if we don't really have data, because actually it's data that is the core of a smart initiative. So now we're not only trying to contribute data, but to bring all these actors together, maybe the public, private, and NGOs and students, so that they should come to connect on the same platform to know who is doing what and where, and what have already been done and what is not yet done, and how they can work together in order to get these things quickly done at low costs. And then we are empowering them with this infrastructure, because sometimes decision makers lack the necessary tools in order to take the appropriate or the good decision. And we're just empowering them with a tool that will just help in just a little click to have an overview of what is present. Maybe if I take the place of a decision maker or like a mayor, in just one click, he's going to see what's present on his territory, where it is present, where there's a lack, and what has to be done. So in this nutshell, I'll just quickly present the infrastructure. So this is how the infrastructure is built. It is built on open source technology, and the code is open and free on GitHub for anybody who wants to develop other modules on it. So it is simple and it is highly scalable. This infrastructure was built, first of all, in Cameroon, and due to the success that it had in Cameroon, we thought it wise maybe to deploy it on other African countries that have the same problems that we have back here in Cameroon. And at the date of today, we're already at more than 20 countries on which this infrastructure have been deployed, and we are already having a lot of engagement of public, private sectors, and even universities. People are really interested, because just on a click, you can have all the data that is present and open for use right here in this infrastructure. So if maybe I decide to go on education, and education, I can see that just clicking on education, I can have already on the territory to see how data, where there are schools and where there are not schools, and maybe already starting asking special questions like why are there schools there and why are there schools here? So for a decision maker that's not a geospatial professional, you can already have a look and have already a good idea of what to do and with who to work in order to work better. So I don't know really what's my time, what's the time that I have. Julien, please, can you, how long do I have to present, please?
Yes, we were talking about like a 10-minute presentation. So I think you must be around your time cut, but we will be able to talk more in the discussion time later.
Okay, thank you, Julien. So this platform is is already free and open source. We have deployed it lately on Lebanon when they had their crisis. So to help even like NGOs intervene to know where there are gaps in data and how to collect the data. So I will not get into the details of the presentation of the platform. It has much tools that are really appreciated by the users that are already engaged into the project. And we are really hoping this project is going to get more actors engaged, because actually that's what we need in Africa. We don't have a lot of resources to build, but what we have is the human power. We have the our intellect that can be put into place in order to build interesting stuff. Thank you, Julien.
You're welcome.
Okay, Julien, should we continue?
Yes, as for me, it's okay.
Okay, Derek, I can ask you one question. It's my own question that I've posted on the chat, which is, could you say something about the business model and how you developed the solution? So I did understand that you deployed open and free, but how were you able, in your initial work in Cameroon, and was there any state support is partly what I want to understand.
Okay, so initially the project, there was no support. So it's just an initiative of OpenStreetMap Cameroon to build this infrastructure, because actually on working on many projects, we were faced with so many difficulties in having data and stuff. What makes this platform really interesting is that data can come from anywhere. Like if you have data from OpenStreetMap, you can pull it into the platform. If you have data from private enterprise, you can pull it to the platform. So there's just a central place where everybody can come and feed on. Because if I take maybe like the tech industry, in order to build apps, they need data. So this platform already have APIs that they just need to connect to the APIs and pull the data for their apps and stuff. So there's a real we really believe that it's a great future for this infrastructure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And probably we come back to some of the discussion of this platform and some of the ideas that Julien has shared. But now I think we should get the other part of our presentation from the Aston network. I would like to invite you, Simina, to take the mic.
Thank you very much, Geshi. Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. Let's see if I can share my screen. Does this work? Can you see it? Okay, great. Yes, my name is Simina Lazar, and I am the network coordinator for Aston, and you'll hear all about it in the minutes to come. I am very excited to be speaking to you today and to be bringing this example of Aston to the South African tech ecosystem and cities. It's a real pleasure to be here, and once again, thank you very much for the invitation. When I present, let's see if I can properly do this. When I present Aston, the way the image that I find it the most powerful. Okay, I have it. So the image that I usually find the most powerful to present what we do is very simply the map of our project. It shows, first of all, that we cover different cities from different parts of the continent, but it also shows that we are a network, and this is a very important element that I would like to underline. So Aston is not just a city, a sum of cities, 11 cities that work together on specific issues, but it is a network. And underlying that principle, there's this idea that these cities advance together, work together. So the element of sharing as a working principle is really, really important for us. As I am saying, it is about 11 cities working together for 3 years. It is not really, our aim is not to open up the network, so it is a closed network because the idea of these cities learning together as a cohort, sharing between themselves is really, really important for us. Aston, the joint element that brings these cities together is their journey towards digital transition. As you can see from the map, each city has a theme attached to it. What is really, really important to us, and this is another working principle for us, Aston is not about smart cities in the sense of a top-down government approach that aims to put sensors and to manage data and to have real-time decision-making based on data. Not that models are not important and don't function elsewhere, but for us, working on the territory of African cities, it is really important that we start from where the problem, the challenge is laid. So each city has identified, as you can see from the map, a topic on which they will be working with us, and where they will be using all sorts of digital and tech tools to improve that topic. So I will come back to the themes in a moment. Another important thing about Aston in presenting us is the fact that the project is a flagship project, and it was born from an encounter between URBACT and AFD. AFD, as you might know, it is the French development agency, and it is a structure that funds and supports and accelerates the transition process around the world. URBACT is the program for which I have been working for the nearly 10 past years, and URBACT, probably it's totally unknown to you, is a European program, a program that has been working with cities for the past 18 years, and has worked with more than 1,000 cities all over Europe. What URBACT has been doing was to create, to support the creation of networks like Aston, and those networks, those cities have been working together on topics as diverse as the urban challenges can be. So in URBACT, we had networks that were looking into urban agriculture, housing, migration, local economic development, circular economy, gender equality in the public space, you name it. All the challenges that cities were confronted with at one point in their development, we probably had an URBACT network working on that. So what is important to be said is that URBACT does not finance the implementation of projects. URBACT is a capacity building program, so it reinforces the capacities of local authorities, of cities, to design and implement policies, strategies, and actions on their territory. It is a results-driven program. A very important principle of URBACT, of what we call the URBACT method, is the participatory approach. So engaging local stakeholders in the policy-making process. And this is something that we are using also in Aston. So we are using the URBACT methodology and know-how, and it is for the first time that we are testing this methodology that has proven its results in Europe. We are testing it in Africa. We have some guidelines, but we don't have a blueprint. So URBACT is about learning, and so is Aston. Based on this encounter, both programs launched a call for cities in 2017, and 11 cities were selected to be part of this journey. As I was saying, this call for Aston cities was specifically linked with the topic of digital transition. So it was not an open wide call like the URBACT one. One thing that we, let's say, inherited from URBACT is the structure of our project. So what you can see here is our timeline, and we have started our project in September last year, and the first phase, as the name says, exploration was really about getting to know one another again as a network. This dimension of trust and knowing each other is really important in the work that we are doing, and we consider this dimension even more important when it comes to topics such as the digital and the tech. As you know, the concept of smart city was coined by the private sector, and for the private sector is very easy to work in it, whereas for the local authorities, even more, I would say, local authorities in the African context rather than the European one, where the decentralization process is not that thorough. Being a competitive partner and working on your territories and your institutions' digital transition is very, very difficult. So for us, again, phase one was about offering cities a space where they can open freely to one another about the problems and the challenges that they encounter when it comes to the digital transition of their territory. So one of the main outcomes of this phase that I'm going to present in a moment is a quite thorough study, the baseline study, where we analyzed the digital maturity of the territory of the institutions that are part of the network, but we also looked into what brings us together as a network, which are our challenges, which are our common themes. During this first phase, the cities were also supposed to create a local action group. So this is the participatory element in our work, where they were once they had decided their topic they would want to work on, they had also created a group of the local stakeholders, private, public, citizens, third sector, to start co-designing the solutions that they want to find on their territory. As I said, they were supposed to, because the pandemic hit, and unfortunately some cities were really delayed in that process, but we are catching up speed right now. So that was phase one. As you can see, we had to add this unexpected phase. We called it 1.5, linked to COVID. I will say a word about it in a second. And now we have started the engagement phase, where cities continue the work with the local ecosystem, take it further to design their solutions. In the third phase that you see in the timeline, the experimentation phase is where cities will take a part of the solutions that they have designed and test it, pilot, maybe look into the riskiest part of the local action plan and see what it gives when it is confronted with reality. As I was saying, like in URBACT, Aston does not finance the whole action plan that comes out of the city's work, but we have a budget for them to test one part. The objective is that at the end of their Aston journey, so by March 2022, they will have a local action plan that is solid, that is reinforced by the experience of the experimentation, and that is bankable. So it is also work to look for, to accompany them in their search for financing, investment, international donors, whichever kind of funding structure they can work with and are interested to work with. Of course, during all this process, cities continue their engagement and their work with the local action group. This is a very important part of the work. In the following slides, there are some photos, because we were lucky enough to be able to organize some offline meetings before everything went online. So here you can see us all in Kampala when we kicked off our project October last year. We also, this is still Kampala. We also, in order to inform the work on the baseline study, we also did city visits. We were able to visit 9 of the 11 cities that were part of the network before pandemics hit. And for the 2 other ones, Bizerte and Bamako, we had to improvise and do online interviews and focus groups and so on. But as you can see, we were able to work with the 9 cities and meet the local ecosystem, work with them. In some cases, for the cities, it was the opportunity to launch at that moment the local action group. So we were able to dig deep into the local context of our cities. Of course, then 16th of March happened here in France, mid-March pandemics, and we all moved online. This is one of our online meetings with partners from all our cities. And as I was saying, we also the cities told us that they feel the need to use the space that was created by the network to exchange on the daily things that were happening to them. So we created this non-mandatory open calls for cities to exchange. We had an expert that was working with us for these calls, where we were able to exchange a little bit like Julien was doing earlier, to exchange good practices and trends that we were observing on the in cities from all over the world with respect to how they were responding to COVID. And I will share with you the link right afterwards. This is a publication where we put together all the observations and the recommendations of the ASTEN cities with respect to how cities could manage the pandemic crisis on their territory. Now, moving to our baseline study, as I was saying, this was an important piece of the work that we did during the past months. And as I was saying, the objective was for us to understand which is the starting point of the network, but also which is the starting point of the theme on which we are working. So what does digital transition mean for Africa, for African cities, and for the institutions with which we were working? Of course, we were not aiming to be exhaustive. We were looking into specifically what's the starting point of on which the cities had joined the network. So we designed a methodology that blended design research and more standard qualitative and quantitative research methods. And through the whole process, what we tried to do is to bring an objective perspective to the network, and more importantly, an empathetic one. Because we all know that when it comes to working with data, digital maturity, ecosystem elements, information can very quickly become out of date. And statistics and numbers don't fully cover the more human elements of government work and digital transformation. So we, for this reason, in this work, we gave a priority to design and qualitative research over the quantitative one. But again, quantitative data is also there. So we did a lot of desk research, we did the visits as I was presenting, and we did a first scan of the African context as a basis for our work. To share with you some of the results that we found, this is one of the questions that we systematically asked our cities, and we know that we knew already from the desk research that there are multiple and nuanced definitions based around different types of city intelligence. We also knew that becoming a smart city is not necessarily in the hands of the local authority, and it's something that any of the actors in the urban ecosystem can do. So with from the dialogue we had with the cities, we observed, we saw that being a smart city can mean very different things to them. And there were these three main clusters that we observed, as you can see on the screen. One is much more about the urban services that the local authority is providing to the citizens. And the examples that Charlene will bring from Kampala go a lot into this direction. Another important cluster is about the direct relationship with citizens and how digital and tech can facilitate that. And the third cluster can be much more about sustainable growth in general. And you can see here some examples of what those definitions are. But what I think is really important here as a takeaway is the fact that all the Aston cities are using digital transformation as a catalyst to achieve their own objectives. Again, it is not about becoming a smart city for smart city's sake, but is about aiming for a bigger objective. And it is important for us to mention that this slide, of course, is not static. It is a dynamic one, and this is a conversation that we'll continue to have with the cities in the years to come. Also in the baseline study, we drafted what we call city profiles. So each city has a chapter in the document where we have made an analysis again of the digital maturity, both of the institution and of the territory. We looked into the composition of the local group and which are the underlying dynamics for that work. We also try to do, and this is something very important, to build a picture of the network. So it wasn't, of course, about the city profiles and where each city is standing, but also where we are as a network. And we've tried to put the cities, analyze them as a cohort again, against the criteria that you see on the screen. And what we have generally observed is, for example, that when it comes to vision and strategy, our cities are generally doing well, whereas when it comes to data, skills and experience, those are areas where there is space for improvement. And as a matter of fact, based on these observations, we have built the methodology for our phases 2 and 3, so engagement and experimentation. And for these 3 phases, we have structured our work around 3 components that you can see on the screen. The first one is the learning areas. So for example, helping cities improve their work in terms of data collection and management, innovative design services, and so on. The thematic clusters are the themes that each city has chosen. Like I was giving the example earlier, it can be e-tax, land management, mobility as for Kampala, and again, you will hear more about that from Charlene. And last but not least, also because this is the most important aspect of the work, the local activities, because in Aston, we do consider that each of the institutions we are working on is the one that has the expertise on their territory. We cannot presume that we know their territory better than themselves. So the local work that they will be doing will serve as a basis to inform the exchanges as a network. And we also hope that the exchanges of the network will help them to improve, if I can say, or to bring elements to the work that they are doing locally. And just to give you a very short, quick example, this is from this is one of the thematic clusters on working on e-tax, where Matola and Bamako, also Kumasi, are said that what they want to work within Aston is specifically how the city collects their taxes and how they can use digital and tech to improve that. It also happens that in the network there is Kampala. Again, you'll hear more about it from Charlene. And Kampala has already a proven solution with respect to collection of taxes. And this is where the exchange and the learning takes place within the network. And this is where the cities work together as a network of peers, where learning from Kampala means understanding what worked, but also what didn't work for them. And it also means understanding what, in this specific case, Matola and Bamako can do realistically on their territory. So understanding which are the limits of their work, because I think it's very obvious that their local, national political context is not the same as the one in Kampala. So I will finish there. I think I took a little bit more time than I was supposed to. I don't know, are there any burning questions, or shall I introduce Charlene?
Colleagues, any burning questions of clarity right now, or else we carry on to Charlene and then come back to questions? I have a couple, but they're not burning. So I think, Simina, let's carry on to the next presentation, and then we'll see how much time we have to take some
Okay,
questions.
great. We'll do that. So Charlene here with us, she's representing the city of Kampala, lead partner of the Aston network. Charlene, she's a data scientist. Sorry, Charlene, about that. And she has been very, very active in the Aston network. And she's also able to bring and to share with you today some of the work that Kampala has already been doing with respect to engaging with citizens in their smart city policy. So Charlene, the floor is yours, and I shall stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Simina. Hello, hi everyone. I'm Charlene, like I've already been introduced. I'll go straight away to sharing my screen. Okay, I hope you can all see it. So, first of all, I would like to thank Simina for the opportunity to present, especially what Kampala has done and what we intend to do. Our approach to citizen engagement was to, first of all, give our project a name, which is Intambulayo, as seen on the screen. It's funded by Aston, and it directly translates into your movement or mobility. This is a skyline view of Kampala in the night. So I'll briefly take you through an introduction, citizen engagement using digital tools, initiatives that we have in the pipeline, and what Intambulayo is about. So KCCA is Kampala Capital City Authority. We are a corporate body that is in charge of administering the capital city, which is Kampala, on behalf of the central government. We came into being after the signing of the KCCA Act in 2010, which was later amended in 2019. Our top leadership comprises Lord Mayor, who is part of the Council of the Authority. We also have a minister for Kampala who is in charge of supervising the authority, and the authority itself is guided by the executive director, who works alongside 10 service directorates, each run by a director. So our population for Kampala during the day is about 4 million, but the resident population itself is 1.5 million. The current growth rate in terms of urban population is 5.2, and the city's contribution to the country's GDP is 60%. Our projected population is 10 million by the year 2040. So our vision as Kampala is, first of all, to be a vibrant and attractive, sustainable city. We want to improve quality services for our city. We have core values, which is excellence, client care, integrity, teamwork, and innovativeness. I'm from the IT department, and our strategy is towards building a smart city. So in terms of citizen engagement using digital tools, we first of all appreciate that at the core of all the work we do, everything is for the citizen. And we need to make life easy for the citizen. So our first approach was to put all our taxes, all the different sources online. And we did that with an initiative called eCity. On the right, this is a screenshot of the eCity system. You can pay online, you can transact any kind of approval, or in case you want to visit or check out our library, everything is done online. So also we collect our taxes online, including the licenses, the property rates, the building plans, the local service tax, the local hotel tax, the outdoor advertising, the medical fees, the ground rent, the markets, everything tax is done under eCity. Then also we have a K-Smart Market, which is an online market linking the buyers and the sellers. This was particularly more useful during the lockdown or when the pandemic hit. We had people stuck at home who needed food. So most of them used our site, the K-Smart Market, to get groceries to their homes. Then we also have the Visit Kampala. Now, these are not our only initiatives as a city. There are others, but these are the core that engage the citizens more frequently than others. We also have a client contact center. This particular platform is where clients make inquiries. They either call in using our toll-free numbers, we register the complaints. If it's an issue that needs an emergency response, an ambulance, we're able to coordinate, but everything starts with a contact center. One of our recent community engagements were through a project we call Weyonje. Weyonje is a Luganda word meaning hygiene or clean yourself. So it is about raising awareness in the community. We are able to mobilize people from the communities to help them improve their sanitation conditions. We were able to develop an app, which is here on the right, and collect, for example, fecal sludge matter around the city. So if, for example, you need a truck to come and help empty your depository, we coordinate it, the drivers and the citizens, through this particular app. So for more information on all our initiatives, the ones I've talked about and the ones I haven't, please feel free to get the information from our website. Now, most recent tools or initiatives that are in the pipelines, first of all, we have the CamCamV. CamCamV is City Address Model, Computer-Aided Mass Valuation. For this particular system, we are trying to enhance eCity. We're trying to do more than just the property tax. So the citizens will be able to send, first of all, their documents, and it has 5 modules. So we have the e-document management system. You send your complaint, you send any form of documentation through our system. So we get it, we're able to give it a reference number, track it, and give it to the responsible directorate. So that is the document management system. Then we want to go ahead and enhance our ECT and add to it computer-aided valuation, where we no longer have to, we already have scripts that run the different valuation roles for the properties around the city, but now we want to use valuation models similar to those in India. We also want to enhance our smart permit. You saw the building plan approval. So currently we get the plans online, but we want to change the entire process or enhance it and make it even bigger. Somebody should be able to monitor the entire stage of the smart permit, which officer has it, how far has it gone while you're getting notifications about your permit, be it about demolition, be it about construction, everything about a permit. For that is only in line with physical development around the city. We also have another module, which is the enterprise GIS system, and this also uses what Derek had mentioned. There's a small component of OSM in it, but we also have other GIS tools embedded within our enterprise geographical information systems. We have a web portal where citizens can come, get information, or contact us. Yes, so this is more of an enhancement to the ECT that we already have. Then other initiative that is in the pipeline is Intambulayo, which is what Aston is funding. Intambulayo is first of all about enhancing or sensitizing the public about all the initiatives about mobility. Mobility in terms of the road, be it a pothole, everything about your road, that is Intambulayo. So we have other initiatives that have been successful under Intambulayo. For example, non-motorized transport. We have NMTs where you can ride a bicycle along those lanes or walk along the lanes, and they're safe. There are no cars allowed on those particular lanes. So all that is under Intambulayo, it is mobility. But then for Aston, we were able to pick one particular problem that we wanted to address, which was the traffic congestion. Now, in order to address the traffic congestion in the city, we want to develop an incident management tool where a citizen can report an incident. So for example, there's a car breakdown, there's an accident, you're able to get in touch with us using that tool, whether you have a smartphone or a feature phone. And then we're also able to share with you real-time traffic status around the city using our CCTV cameras. So our cameras are recording the footage, so we want to push that data out to the citizens free of charge. So in line with Intambulayo, funded by Aston, we've been able to achieve, first of all, a name, a local name that resonates with each member of the public. Secondly, we created content for our project. We were able to create concept papers, have some presentation materials to our internal and external stakeholders. We also formed a team. We have a project team that is internal, but we also have an external local action group. I'll explain the local action group in a minute. We've been able to form or contribute to the formulation of the baseline study by submitting our city profile, like Semina had already explained. Now, the last is about the local action group. The local action group is bigger than KCCA. We know that if we are to combat the traffic congestion in our city, it is not only about us as the municipality. We need the police involved, we need the Ministry of Works involved, we need the National Information Technology Authority, which is NITA, in charge of the network infrastructure around the city. So it is a combined effort. We've brought all key stakeholders into one group, and we're able to coordinate and relay our message and our different activities. So for phase 2, we were mostly focusing on, first of all, providing a preliminary research document, which is a focused research to show that actually our citizens want us to rectify the issues around traffic congestion. Now, in order to achieve this particular research, we need to, first of all, sensitize the public about what we are going to do. Our biggest coverage of communication in Uganda is radio. If we went on TV, not every home has a TV, so we are mostly going to use radio. We've organized about 9 radio stations. We've planned for live shows, mentions, and adverts with them. We go out, tell them what Aston is about, what Entambulayo has achieved, what we want to achieve under Aston, and they're also able to share with us any other expectations they have. We've been updating our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on all our activities. Be it the baseline study, our citizens get the instant updates about all the work we do. We've been able to create local newsletters for the project and communicate the direction that we want to take, the vision for our project. So all that is also found on our website. We also want to organize for bilingual SMS polls. These particular ones are for our registered taxpayers at the authority, and they're similar to the UNICEF CU reporter. You can Google it after this particular session. So what happens is the entire poll or the entire survey is carried out on your phone via SMS. So you receive a list of questions and you're asked, and you're required to just submit the answer. Is it number 1? Is it number 2? All the objectives are in number form. So we want to also carry that out in order to submit it in our focused research. But that is not enough as a city, because if we looked at radio, social media, and SMS, you're only looking at the formal sector of our city. But we have the biggest number of our population is in the informal sector. So we have actual data collectors going out to the field to collect online surveys on behalf of the different people in the informal sector, the people in the streets, the people in the markets. They collect their different feedback and submit the forms online. Then we'll also have the survey on our website. We've already created it. If you checked out our website, it's on Google Forms. We'll just edit when the time is right and push out the material. Then we'll have the social media polls on Facebook and Twitter in particular, informing our different followers about the polls and what we want to run for in Entambulayo. We are going to create an animation to show people, because we've realized that traffic congestion is mostly behavioral. So we need to also educate people about what to do, especially the tech savvy people. So we'll create animations that we can share on social media, on our website, in order to also increase their capacity. We want to organize, that is depending on availability of funds, community barazas. What these entail, you have groups of people going to different areas and be able to train the citizens on how to, for example, report an incident on the application. Because at the end of the day, if you have beautiful digital tools and people don't know how to use them, it's as good as not having them. So we want to have those different barazas all over the city. We educate you on how to use the incident tool, how to actually report, how to actually understand the statistics that we'll be sharing with them. So, but all that also is dependent on the funds. If I've talked too much, your main takeaway is there's no single solution for engaging the public. If you want to use digital tools, that's okay. Use social media, use your websites, use WhatsApp, but also try to engage the old people, the informal people. Most of them want to be talked to. So that is why we're also embedding the actual data collectors filling the online surveys. Then solutions should include all sectors, like I had mentioned, formal and informal, and the engagements are continuous. If you met, for example, the different private organizations that handle the public transport once, the next time you come back after 6 months, they're probably telling you, we forgot, we thought you didn't want to come back, we thought we had been left out. But if we continuously engage them through those different stakeholder meetings that we have, they actually relate the information down to the everyday user faster than we do, because they know who will do what and how best to approach their teams. Thank you so much for your time. Any questions?
Okay, let's just open up to see whether there are some specific questions for Charlene, and thank you for that presentation. And then we're going to hand back to Simina and Julien and teams to then take us into the last leg, which is basically, I guess, discussion or debate about these topics. Are there any questions for Charlene? I actually have one, and it's a bit of a general one. It's actually exciting to see all of the things you're already doing in Kampala, which of course is a beautiful, beautiful city. And it's really good to see that there are all of these public initiatives. Many of them, I guess, would be what some of us would characterize as more GovTech. So it's not so much that they're civically built solutions, but more sort of government, which is fine. But what I wanted to ask you is that as we think about smart city, and in Aston Network, you guys are defining what smart city means to you and all of this, what would you say are the biggest hurdles for you as Kampala to getting to what you would then think is Kampala is now a smart city? What might some of the big issues or challenges be?
Okay, I think what's common for all cities, our biggest hurdle is availability of funds. We are lucky to have Aston on board, but you'll find most of the activities are even more expensive than what you thought in the beginning. The needs keep changing. I'll give an example. If today you'd planned for radio and social media, you've gone out, you've engaged the public, everybody knows. You realize that you have to go back after the solution is ready to tell them now it's ready. You have to keep having that continuous process, but it's not cheap and it's not free. So that is the biggest hurdle. Mostly it's about funds. Then, of course, the others are maybe change of leadership, but that is solved if you have the continuous engagement. If, for example, now we are in October, January, we have new leaders in Kampala. So we have to go back, re-engage them, bring them up to speed on all the work we've done and where we're going. And they also have to have that buy-in and feel part of the team, but also that delays some of the activities that we want to deliver in due time. So mostly it's the change of leadership in the sense that people have to go at a certain point, and then the funds.
Okay. Karina, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to add to that with respect to what we've been observing from the other Aston cities. It's true, the lack of funds and the continuity of funding, in the sense that unfortunately cities often are not able to match their local development strategy with the availability of funds. So they find themselves in starting projects based on opportunity of funds rather than on their strategic objectives. We also see a very high turnover inside the local administration. So the renewal of the people in charge of the project, and this is all over the institutions that we are working with, and sometimes, again, we are working with some cities like Kampala, like Kigali, like Lagos, that have quite a mature ecosystem and smart policies behind. But we are also working with cities from Mali, from Niger, from Benin, where we are talking about a more fragile political and national context in general. And that national context, unfortunately, plays a big part of the success of the project, and also of the citizen engagement as such. And I would take advantage to answer the questions that you've asked very quickly in the chat. So the one on the budget, I love questions about budget. It is true that part of our budget was dedicated to meeting, to learning from one another, and for the timing, all that part is on hold. We don't know for how long it's going to be on hold. So we don't know yet how big that envelope is going to be. What is very likely we are going to do is that we will reallocate all that budget to the experimentation phase. Cities were supposed to have, each city was supposed to have an envelope of 50,000 euros to experiment, and probably that's going to get bigger. We have not designed very imaginative actions so far, because in Aston we develop our actions along we go. So we know interesting things are going to happen at that phase, and we would be very happy to be able to support the most of it. And with respect to your institutions question, so basically the way we work in Aston is that we have a direct contract with the local authorities. In each country, the local authority is someone else. For Kampala, it's the capital city authority. For some others, it's the municipality itself. For Lagos, it's the Ministry of Science and Technology. For Nouakchott in Mauritania, as a matter of fact, it's the region of Nouakchott that has the competence to work on the urban issues. It really differs from one country to the other, and we try to be open and to adapt to all contexts. For example, in Bamako, we are working with a local development agency. So that requires a lot of flexibility on our side, but we are trying our best to fit the needs where they are, and not the cities to fit into our bigger structure.
Thank you. That was very helpful. So I'm going to hand over now back to you, Julien and Simina, to maybe have some engagement either between you, or you could try to engage our participants who seem to be very quiet today. It's quite curious, but let's hand over back to you. We've got another about 20 minutes.
So yes, maybe if we don't have any question for the moment, I can start with the two questions that I have received on the chat. They were interesting ones. Most of the public should be interested in knowing what we've been talking about. So the first one was coming from Charlene, and she asked, considering the focus on cities, what was the main communication medium used in terms of engaging citizens? Yeah, of course, it's always a bit complicated for the public sector to find a way to engage citizens. It's also complicated when you are a third party, like a business or civic, let's say civic party. But I think that it's even more complex for the governments in democracy, because most of the time there is a sort of independence. You trust more easily an NGO or a non-profit association and voluntaries than you will trust your official government communication. And this is a bit what Jessie said too, when she made the difference in between GovTech and Civic Tech. Basically, these are mostly the same tools with same features, but yes, one has a different, let's say, capacity to engage the citizens because it is considered as a peer initiative. Yeah, so this is something. But to talk about the technicity of communication, I must say that in all the case studies I've been through, the strategy is always the same, is communicate as much as possible in all means available, for sure. And then, of course, locally, it depends of the tools that are available. Some people, some population use more Facebook than, for example, Twitter. Some other use more WhatsApp than another messaging app. So locally, there are some yeah, let's say specificities, as you said about your city, Charlene Kalampa. Yes, apparently the radio is the most efficient way to communicate to the population. Something very interesting we are not always thinking about, but in my 3 case studies, it appeared that the word-to-mouth communication is a very, very strong tool that is always ranked as secondary. So yeah, you have the first, you have the primary communication tool, and then at the second rank, you have word-to-mouth that has a strong capacity to engage the people. They trust a lot when they hear something that comes from a neighbor, from a friend, from family, relative, etc. So that was about the communication. And then Jesse asked me, about the human resource. It appears that in my 3 case studies in Taiwan, in Israel, and in Estonia, those 3 countries didn't have many resources to exploit. No energy in the ground, no minerals, no running industry to sell goods and make money for the state. So those 3 have by default, but choose the strategy to invest massively in human resource. And so it results in investing in educational programs, but also easing entrepreneurship, usually by creating some accelerator of innovation projects, also by creating some tax policies that will incite the people to run independent businesses, at least for some years. And so, yeah, this has been a core key in the success of Taiwan, Israel, and Estonia. Yeah, empowering the people to create independent enterprises, and so exploit the human resource. Yeah. Also investing in science, research and development, and education programs, of course. Do you have any other question somewhere from the public? Simina, do you want to add something about what you've been asked to?
On my side, to be honest, I would be really, really curious to hear about a little bit from the audience that we have in our virtual room. So let's see if this works. We prepared 3 questions. Maybe we won't go through all of them. But the first question that we wanted to ask you guys, because for the time being you've already asked us some question, is from your perspective, from the work that you are doing in South Africa or maybe elsewhere, which are the key ingredients for making citizens part of the smart city policy process? So let's take a minute for each of you to reflect a little bit on that, and either raise your hands or write in chat. What's your experience with respect to the topic that Julien and myself together with Derek and Charlene have been discussing. So again, the question is, what are the key ingredients for making citizens part of the smart city policymaking process?
Hi, Semina.
Hi.
So my thing is, it's always about, so when you talk about smart cities.
Nati, can you please present yourself?
Oh, hi. My name is Nati.
And the organization you work for?
I work for CTIN. So I just wanted to ask, I mean, just to talk about the issue around smart cities and things around tech generally, is always, so when presenting it to layman, is always like the information is not accessible, right? In terms of the language that's being used to present to people, and it's not as good. People aren't unable to kind of understand the presentations that people give. For instance, people come in communities and talk about these very big things and very big terminology, and people just don't understand what the thing is about, and people are very disengaged because of the language that's being used and the kind of graphics that are being used, and it's just like people have very little interest in what you have to say because you come in and you are an expert, and that's respectable, but at the same time you're not using language that's very accessible to the normal public. So that's my take on that question.
Okay. Among the four of us, I have the impression that Charlene is the best place to give a hint on how they are tackling that at city level, because they are basically first contact with the citizens in terms of engaging them in their smart city process.
Okay.
Charlene?
Thank you, Semina. Thank you, Nati. So our approach is Kampala. Yes, we have some people that are educated, but then we have predominant languages that even the educated know how to speak. Now in Kampala, it is Luganda. So even when we are going to radio or we're organizing community barazas, that is also out of Aston, the community, I'll give an example of the community barazas. We used them when we were trying to roll out the CAMV that I had explained to you. We needed citizens to know that we are coming to collect property information, everything, be it their land title, their identity, and they had to have that information. So if we went to the community in English, most people would send us back or tell us they haven't understood anything. So we try to organize them in our local languages. In Kampala, almost everybody speaks Luganda. So it's either English or Luganda. So we organize them in that particular language, go out, communicate the information. In line with Aston, in terms of going out to radio and the SMS poll, the SMS polls, they're going to be bilingual in English or Luganda. So when it starts, you'll select your language of choice. Is it English or Luganda? Then you participate in the poll depending on the language that you pick, but the questions will remain the same. Radio, we have the English radio stations and the Luganda radio stations. We have approached both, and we're going to communicate in both languages. So that has helped us address that particular problem. But even before you get to communicating to the citizens, you as an authority, you sit down and get a name that everybody can identify with. The example I gave you was Entambula Yo. It means your mobility or your movement. So if you said it to anybody in Kampala, they will understand what you're talking about. But if we rolled out the project and called it mobility, and I went to the market, there's so many people there that never went to school. So they would look at you like, what are you saying? But if I walked to them and told them, hello, I'm Charlene, I'm collecting information about a survey, it is about Entambula Yo, even if I said these particular words in Uganda, they will participate and want to engage and give me feedback. Yes, so try to also change the activities and use your predominant languages.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Charlene. Are there any other participants in the room that would like to share their observations or their thoughts with us with respect to citizen engagement and smart city? I would guess that is a no. I would then go to the other question we had thought for you, which is with respect to the work regarding citizen engagement into smart cities. You are all coming from different institutions, but is there some advice that you could give to cities like Kampala to better engage with citizens, again, either from your with your hat on as a citizen of your city, or with your from the perspective of your professional work?
I would, this is
Yes,
Keshi here.
Keshi.
I'll try to comment. Sorry, my network is not behaving very well. I'm not sure why. But I think, and then maybe again, coming back to, I mentioned when Julien presented on the state support through offering space. I think some of these ideas of government more as a platform than always the facilitator, I think is one of the lessons in South Africa. We're really trying to, let me say, to cultivate the idea that it's not always on the government to organize everything, because it's not possible. It's not possible, and it's not always effective. And often you'll find there are many other actors and formations that are able to include and bring people to the table and come up with interesting ideas and even interesting tools. But often, at least in our context, I can't really speak to Uganda or other places, but in our context, sometimes the government occupies too much space and could be a little bit more like a platform instead of always trying to be the ones to do it. And in fact, this whole month, and I can see some colleagues here from the national government are part of that exploration about how do you have an all of society approach to something where it's not about the government bringing the smart city or the government bringing the participation people. So that's just one, but it's a journey. We're still trying.
I don't know if I can just ask, Ashi, I mean, doesn't involving government in these processes then kind of bring legitimacy to the work that we do? I mean, for instance, the local officials are always in contact with people on the ground, and so involving the government does give you that sort of legitimacy and may allow people to kind of get involved in whatever processes that you're bringing forth. I mean, have you not faced issues with legitimacy in the past, just coming without the government to local areas?
So I can comment, but I'm sure some of the other people will be interesting to hear Charlene's story in Uganda. So first of all, I would say the quick answer is yes. I think that government has important powers, including the legitimacy of representation and public interest and all of that. So I would not ignore that. But the 2 points I would make is that one, I think, like I said, if government saw itself then as offering a platform as opposed to coming and then being the ones occupying the full space, if you know what I mean. So that balance between using your power and legitimacy to create space, but then actually creating space, so not occupying the full space. And it's difficult to keep that balance because often people will look to government then to fund the thing, to be the ones to speak, to make long speeches and that sort of thing. So on the one hand, people ask for that, but it also crowds out other possibilities. So I think that's the one comment. And then the second very brief one is that I think in our context, because we assume and we maybe have a particular relationship between the state and the people, that might be true where government is seen in a positive light. Not the case. Maybe let me leave it at that. And even here, it's not always the case. For some people, actually, in the civic space, they would not necessarily want to be convened only by government because they may hold different views.
Now, I mean, I don't know what Charlene, what your
Okay, first of all, CCA administers the capital city on behalf of the central government. So we actually run the activities on behalf of the government. We are the people that implement, we are the ones that engage the citizens, do all the dirty and nitty-gritty work. We do that. In terms of trust, I think in Uganda, KCCA has now a good reputation because we've been able to deliver even projects before Aston. We've delivered to the citizens. I'm not going to say every citizen is happy. There have to be some people that are unhappy. You can't make everybody happy. But yes, if you come to Kampala, you'll actually see the junctions that have been improved or widened or expanded. Even if you went to a social media handle and scrolled back, even during COVID, you'll see some ongoing construction works. You'll see markets being reconstructed. So we do have that reputation, the reputation for delivering services for our people. And that has also made it easy to partner with organizations like Aston, to partner with AFD, because we've delivered before in other projects. So it makes even this one a lot easier to give to us as well. It's a continuous effort. You get one, do the best you can, show it to the people, showcase everything you've done. Then slowly they'll get to appreciate it. Now, before it was KCCA, it used to be KCC. So they also had their own reputation as well. Then we became an authority and everything changed. We started delivering, giving services to people, and at least others appreciate, as well as a few complaints here and there. Those you can't do away with.
If I can add to that, Nati and Geshi, from what I've observed so far from the other Aston cities, it is true that it is a question of government legitimacy as an institution. In some cities, for example, in Bamako, in Nouakchott, it is also very much a question of personality. The extent to which a project officer, a simple project officer, is able to say, I'm leading this project, but I don't think us as an institution have the capacity to develop all the solutions. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to listen to the existing tech ecosystem and see what they have to say. So it is very much, it depends very much on the person. It might be also that it is a governmental approach. I don't know the case of South Africa, but that's what we are observing so far. And when they have this right mind frame, they can discover quite amazing things. For example, in Bamako, when they organized the first encounter with the tech ecosystem and the startups already existing on the territory, they realized that those people had developed solutions for the municipality on behalf of the municipality, solving all sorts of citizen engagement projects without ever consulting the municipality and working directly with the citizens. Of course, that was not okay from some other points of view, but it was something that the municipality could liaise with and potentially start working together with those people that develop those solutions. So again, this is very much also a personal issue rather than besides or together with an institutional issue.
Good. So I think we're coming to time now, and I just want to give an opportunity if there are any last words from Julien, Derek, Simina, Charlene, maybe just a quick checkout sense of either a key takeaway or just saying goodbye before we close out. I think for me, it's just to really thank you for the time, the presentations, and the insights. I think it's nice we've covered some insights from other parts of the world. We've talked about Africa. We began trying to apply to South Africa, and this is what we hoped for. So thank you very much. Julien, maybe I start with you and we work backwards until Charlene.
Thank you, Jessie. I don't have anything special to add, except that I would like to thank you very much for this initiative, and I hope the best of wishes for the Civic Tech Innovation Network. Maybe if you do this reunion annually, I will be happy to join next year, something like that. Yeah. And apart from that, well, I'm available on the web. I guess it's the best way to reach me. So anyone from the speakers or the public, just don't be shy. Send me a message, and yeah, let's keep in touch.
Thank you, Julien, and we'll take you up on that. Derek, are you still here? Would you like to say anything? Maybe he is not. Okay, Simina, to you. Yeah, you're on mute.
It's really the same as Julien. Let's keep in touch. I've put in the chat both our generic email address and our website. On our website, you can find our baseline study. We also have an ongoing call for experts because, as I was saying, we don't know all the local context we are working on. So having a very smart and digitally friendly people that can help us, we are looking for that. We know also that there are bigger conversations out there on the topic we are working on. So also if you have ideas for partnerships for us to work together, we are really open to do that. So don't hesitate to drop us a line. And again, thank you very much, Civic Tech, for the invitation. And Julien, it was a wonderful exchange. Thank you all.
Thanks, Amina. And then Charlene.
Thank you, Civic Tech, for the invitation. Julien, for the presentation. Thank you, Semina. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Semina. Thank you so much. It's good to hear what's happening in South Africa. It's good to know we are not the only people with the same problems, but it's also good to know that we're on the right track. We're doing work that's bigger than us, that will stay here even after we've left. And that's one of my motivations for working here. It's that it's not about me. So thank you. I've learned so much. I hope to hear from you soon. And stay safe, stay healthy.